Good afternoon, my rogue army. My name is Erin Rogoff, and I would like to welcome you back to my BookTube channel. So I went on Facebook this morning to talk with a few friends, and I saw a few posts about publicly reviewed best classics, and I think they are absolutely horrible choices. I mean, what happens to the actual classics, like The Time Machine by H.G. Wells, Robin Hood by Howard Pyle, and The Three Musketeers by Alexander Dumas? I mean, those are real classics, but now everyone's talking about these modern classics like Slam by Nick Hornby, and I hated that book. You can obviously tell because in other book videos I have ranted about them in a very negative way. Moving on. It seems like we've replaced quality words with empty ones to get poetic here. And anyway, I read these books once, and I have sworn never to read these books again. Starting with Go Ask Alice by Beatrice Sparks, although some copies say written by Anonymous. It is a young adult fiction novel that was originally published in 1971, but is still considered a modern classic. And it focuses on a 15-year-old girl who gets totally addicted to drugs, then runs away from home. And I'm not even going to go with the ratings just because it's making my head hurt. And my brother loved the book, but I never understood the appeal, even though he said it reminded him of the Crank series by Ellen Hopkins, which I absolutely loved. So, even though I'm still obsessed with that series, I hated Go Ask Alice. And my brother, he's the non-fiction type, I'm the fiction type. Like, literally, every book I have in my room is fiction. Whether it's, like, young adult fiction, or romance fiction, or historical fiction, or whatever. But another book that I read once and will never read again is Of Mice and Men by John Steinbeck. It is an adult fiction, tragedy fiction novel, and it's set during the Great Depression and focuses on the two friends, George and Lenny, who have a dream of living on a farm. And it's very significant to Lenny, but then he accidentally does something that causes this dream to shatter like glass, and there is a tear-jerking downfall. When I was reading the book the first time, it was in high school. I was already in a bad place with really bad depression, and then I read the book and I'm crying, and then my mom says the movie makes you feel just as much. So silly me, I wanted to watch the movie, so we did, and I was crying even harder. And then that was like mentally preparing myself to not break down in school. So we saw the movie in school, and I already knew what was happening, and I'm like stone-faced while everyone else is just sobbing like a total mess. And I'm like, okay, do not break down, do not break down. These people are sharks. They will like beat me alive, or they will tear me apart to shreds like actual sharks. So, as for my opinions, I do not like books with unhappy endings, so this was out for me even before I considered it an in. And this book made me cry so much, and it made my friends too, and then when I watched the movie with my mom, we were both like holding boxes of tissues at the end of the movie, and we were actually telling each other that we are both similar in the sense where we don't like stories with unhappy endings, and if there's like a cliffhanger to a certain movie, we will invent our own epilogue. Like my mom, she made an epilogue for Of Mice and Men, and apparently so did I. And my epilogue, this is spoilers, after George kills Lenny, he buys the farm that he wants, and Candy and Crooks and their friends come and live with him on the farm, and George meets a farm girl, and then he marries her, and then he has a son, whom he names Lenny, after Lenny, the one he killed. So that was my sort of happy epilogue. It wasn't really happy to begin with, but it was just like some epilogue that I could hold on to before emotionally breaking down over a book that made me feel so much. And then the next book that I'm going to be talking about is kind of like a love-hate relationship, sort of. So there is a good chance I will be reading this again pretty soon because I actually have it on my Kindle. And that is The Giver by Lois Lowry. It is a young adult fiction, science fiction, dystopian fiction novel, and it's about this 12-year-old boy named Jonas who lives in this black and white town in a black and white world. No color is seen and no one has true individuality, and soon he is given a special job. He's mentored by an old man, and then Jonas sees color and emotion and everything else the way it used to be. So when the world goes to vibrancy, will he ever realize that it's never going to go back to the way it was in the monochrome sense? As for ratings, I have to say this one. Goodreads rates the book a 4.1 out of 5 stars. Barnes & Noble rates the book a 4.3 out of 5 stars. Thrift Books rates the book a 5 out of 5 stars. Google users, 88% of people liked this book. And my rating, 4 out of 5 stars. The only star that I took off was because it was just the type of book that made me want to shake all the characters and say individuality is special in its own way. Do not crush it. I mean, I would never be able to live in a town like Jonas lives in because there's no color. And as you can see, there's a lot of color in my room. And, like, you would not be able to function. Well, at least I would not be able to function because I'm talkative. I'm not quite normal in certain senses that would be deemed unworthy in this book. So I would probably be killed within a few days. So there we go. And then as for opinions, like fine wine, this book kind of aged into a good viewpoint in certain aspects. So I really would consider rereading this again. But I have to have a happy ending. And then, unlike the Borg in Star Trek or the people of the Giver world, I am never one to assimilate. I do not, do things just because other people do them, and I do not think that the Borg or the people of the Giver world would completely hate me. I mean, they would, try to destroy me or something. Anyway, what books, mind you, are ones that you have read once and will never, absolutely never, ever, ever read again? I would like to know. So if you enjoyed this video, hit that like button, subscribe to my BookTube channel to get more videos like this, comment below what books you will never read again, and have a great day, everyone.